How did Mahatma Gandhi, England, and 1910 British Columbia lead to a rocket on the moon? Well, the goal of today's video is to answer that. We're going to be using India as a case study for specifically pre-World War I nationalism. Who was important in Indian nationalism? Although that's a pretty basic question, it's still super important. Let's start with a familiar name, Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi was a huge player for nationalism, and not just Indian. He was a godfather of non-violent or passive protests. On the other side of the proverbial coin, there's the British East India Company, or EIC for short. The EIC's goal was to colonize India alongside setting up a trade monopoly, and they weren't afraid to stoop to more dubious means to do so. What's the turning point of Indian nationalism? Okay, this is where it gets a little bit subjective. The turning point of Indian nationalism is the crisis in the Punjab. The 1907 crisis in the Punjab is a period of time where there's universal unrest after the implementation of a colonization bill the year prior. The crisis in the Punjab is often called the beginning of the freedom movement in Punjab. Where did most Indian nationalist events take place? I'm going to start inside of India, and then I'm going to move to external ones. In India, most nationalist meetings were held separate, but many were happening in the countryside of northwestern cities like Bombay. Outside of India, there were things called India houses, run by Indian nationalists who were afraid of the British. One of the most predominant India houses was right here in 1910 British Columbia. What was the most important time of Indian nationalism? The most important time of pre-World War I Indian nationalism was 1903 to 1918. This is due to all the previously mentioned points: Mahatma Gandhi, the India houses, the crisis in the Punjab, as well as World War I, which had a massive effect on India, causing complete deterioration of cooperation with the British. Why was the EIC trying to stop Indian nationalism? The EIC, as I said earlier, was trying to create a monopoly of India, and by allowing Indian nationalism and, as a consequence, Indian independence, they lose their monopoly of India alongside a large amount of money. How does the difference of religion display different ideals in Indian nationalism? In India, there are two main religions, Hindu and Muslim, both of which have different ideals that reflect aptly in their nationalisms. An example of Muslim nationalism is the two-nation theory, where Muslim Indians believe that both the Hindus and Muslims should have separate homelands, which eventually led to the creation and separation of Pakistan as a country. What are some consequences and results of Indian nationalism? Let's start with a big one. India became independent in 1947. It's good that they finally got their independence, but it sucks that it took 2 world wars for it to happen. And as I stated earlier, another result of Indian nationalism is Pakistan becoming an independent country in the same time. And then one final result is the Chandrayaan-3 landing on the moon, making India the 4th country to get on the moon. Which takes us back to my first statement of how does Mahatma Gandhi, England, and 1910 British Columbia lead to a rocket on the moon? Now you know.